Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun!
A jolt roused him, an uncanny sensation like electricity coursing beneath his skin. Consciousness was a slow crawl back. Outside, rain whispered against the glass, a soothing melody, while distant thunder grumbled, a warning of the storm's impending return. As he stirred, Bentley focused on the ceiling, one he knew intimately, yet the view was askew, unfamiliar from this strange vantage point. His immediate recognition of this place belied an unsettling fact. Something was amiss. His body felt disjointed, his weight misplaced on the bed. He raised a hand, noticing slender fingers and manicured nails where once his broad, rough hands had been, higher, lighter, melodic in ways his deep baritone had never been. Across the room, someone else was stirring. His own body sat up on the love seat, looking equally disoriented.
Bentley.
His voice called out, but it wasn't him speaking.
Something's happened. Something impossible.
Racing to the bathroom on unfamiliar legs, Bentley nearly collapsed when he caught sight of his reflection. Rachel's face stared back at him, her delicate features, her wide brown eyes now filled with his panic, her auburn hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders.
The lightning,
he whispered, watching Rachel's lips move with his words.
When it struck the building.
We've switched bodies, Rachel said from the doorway, awkwardly carrying his 6-foot frame in a way he never would. Somehow we've actually switched bodies. The thunderstorm had been unlike anything they'd experienced before. Violent, electric, seemingly focused directly above their apartment building. They'd been holding hands on the balcony, watching in awe until that final, blinding strike hit the lightning rod. The jolt had knocked them both unconscious. And now this.
This can't be real,
Bentley said, touching his face gingerly. This only happens in movies. Well, it's happening now. Rachel explored his face with curious fingers. This is disorienting, doesn't begin to cover it. Days passed in a fog of confusion and adjustment. They called in sick to work, trying to understand what had happened and how to fix it. Rachel struggled with his height and strength, constantly knocking things over and misjudging doorways. Bentley found himself tripping in her body, unused to the different center of gravity and the sensitivity of her skin. They researched body-swapping phenomena, finding nothing but fiction and mysticism. They returned to the balcony during subsequent storms, hoping another lightning strike might reverse the effect. Nothing worked. Then, 1 week after the incident, Rachel woke up screaming in the middle of the night.
It's happening again!
She clutched at her chest, his chest, as sparks of blue electricity crackled across her skin. The air in the bedroom seemed to compress, a pressure building that made Bentley's ears pop. A flash of light, and Rachel collapsed back onto the bed.
Rachel?
Bentley rushed to her side, his heart pounding in her chest.
Rachel, are you okay?
When her eyes fluttered open, something had changed. He could see it immediately.
I'm back,
she whispered, looking down at herself with wonder.
I'm back in my body.
Bentley felt a surge of hope.
Does that mean...
He stopped, realizing his voice was still high, still feminine, his hands still slender.
But I'm still...
Rachel sat up, touching her own face, her own auburn hair.
I don't understand.
Why would I change back but not you? They waited. Days turned into weeks. Rachel had returned to her body, but Bentley remained trapped in her feminine form, a perfect copy of how she had looked, right down to the birthmark on her hip. After a month, they accepted the bitter truth. Whatever had happened wasn't going to reverse itself, at least not for him. "What do we do now?" Bentley asked one evening, sitting on the edge of their bed. "I can't keep calling in sick forever. I can't get a new ID as you. I can't." Rachel took his hands, smaller now than her own, and squeezed them. "We adapt," she said firmly. "If this is permanent, then we find a way to make it work." "How? I don't know how to be a woman, Rachel. I don't know how to live as you." "You don't have to be me," she said thoughtfully. "You just need to be someone new. A woman, yes, but your own person." That night, they had the first of many difficult conversations about the future. "You could take my middle name," Rachel suggested. "Evelyn. It suits you, actually." Bentley, now considering the name Evelyn, looked at himself in the mirror. The auburn hair he now possessed fell past his shoulders, framing a face that was undeniably female, but had begun to show subtle differences from Rachel's. Perhaps it was his expressions, his way of holding himself, but the woman in the mirror was becoming someone unique. "Evelyn," he repeated, testing how it felt on his tongue. "Evelyn Bennett, maybe?" Close enough to Bentley that it might feel connected to who I was. Rachel nodded, reaching for her closet. "You can't keep wearing my pajamas forever. Let's start with some basics." The first time Bentley, now Evelyn, put on women's clothing with purpose rather than necessity was strange yet illuminating. Rachel's navy blue sundress felt oddly right against his new skin, the white lace cardigan she suggested providing a sense of security. "How does it feel?" Rachel asked, watching him examine his reflection. "Different," Evelyn admitted, "but not as wrong as I thought it would." Rachel smiled, adjusting the cardigan's collar. "You look beautiful, you know, in a different way than I do in the same outfit." Over the following months, Evelyn's wardrobe expanded. The floral printed blouses that Rachel had worn to work now hung in Evelyn's side of the closet. Pencil skirts that had accentuated Rachel's curves now did the same for Evelyn's identical figure. "I think I prefer the pink sweater," Evelyn said one morning, holding a soft cashmere pullover against her chest. "The color works better with the auburn hair." Rachel noticed the shift in language, from the hair to my hair, but didn't comment. These small acceptances were coming more frequently now. "Pair it with these," Rachel suggested, handing over dark denim skinny jeans. "Casual, but put together." The makeup lessons proved more challenging. Evelyn's fingers, though identical to Rachel's in shape, lacked the muscle memory that years of application had given her girlfriend. "Hold the liner more like a pencil," Rachel instructed, guiding Evelyn's hand. "Steady, along the lash line. Perfect." "I'll never get the hang of mascara," Evelyn grumbled after poking herself in the eye for the third time. "You will," Rachel promised. "It took me years to perfect this." 6 months after the incident, Evelyn had established a new legal identity. The process had been complicated, involving therapy sessions, medical examinations to document her female physiology, and extensive paperwork. But Evelyn Bennett officially existed now, with a driver's license showing her auburn-haired, feminine face. Finding work proved challenging, but her programming skills remained intact. A remote position with a tech startup allowed her to avoid too many explanations. Former colleagues from Bentley's life were told a careful version of the truth. A rare medical condition, a gender transition, whatever seemed most plausible without revealing the impossible reality.
Do you ever miss being Bentley?
Rachel asked one night as they prepared for bed, Evelyn removing her makeup with practiced motions. Evelyn paused, considering the question seriously.
Sometimes I miss the simplicity, she admitted. Men's clothing is less complicated. People took me more seriously in meetings.
She met Rachel's eyes in the mirror. But I don't miss the body as much as I thought I would. Is that strange? Maybe you're adapting better than expected, Rachel suggested, coming to stand behind her. Or maybe there was always a part of you that was comfortable with femininity. Evelyn considered this. I never felt particularly attached to being masculine. I just never questioned it before. Their relationship evolved as Evelyn grew more comfortable in her new identity. The physical aspects required adjustment. Evelyn now experienced attraction and pleasure differently in her female form, but the emotional connection remained unchanged, perhaps even strengthened by their shared extraordinary experience. We're technically in a lesbian relationship now, Rachel observed one evening over dinner. Evelyn smiled, adjusting the sleeve of her navy blue blouse. Does that bother you? Not at all, Rachel replied, reaching for her hand. I fell in love with who you are, not what body you're in. Though I admit, sharing clothes is a nice perk. Not everyone in their lives adapted so seamlessly. Bentley's parents struggled to understand, eventually settling on the medical explanation as the most acceptable. Some friends drifted away, uncomfortable with the change they couldn't quite comprehend. My mom asked if we're still planning to have children, Evelyn said after a particularly difficult phone call, curled up on the sofa in her favorite pink sweater. Rachel sat beside her, tucking auburn hair behind Evelyn's ear. What did you tell her?
The truth. That we're figuring it out. That physically I could carry a child now, but we're not sure if that's what we want.
The idea was strange, but not unimaginable. Evelyn's body was fully female, doctors had confirmed, identical to Rachel's down to the reproductive system. The possibility existed if they chose to pursue it. 1 year after the storm, they returned to the balcony during a summer thunderstorm, watching the lightning dance across the sky. Are you hoping it happens again? Rachel asked, noticing Evelyn's intense focus on the clouds. Evelyn considered the question, absently tugging at the hem of her white sundress. A year ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. Now, I'm not sure.
You've become comfortable as Evelyn.
I've become Evelyn, she corrected gently. Not just comfortable as her, I am her now. Rachel nodded, understanding. And if lightning struck again? If you had the chance to return to being Bentley? Evelyn watched the storm, feeling the electricity in the air that once changed everything.
I honestly don't know.
That life feels distant now, like someone I used to know rather than someone I used to be. The storm passed without incident, neither offering a return to the past nor forcing any new changes upon them. Over the next few years, Evelyn continued to evolve. Her style shifted subtly from Rachel's influences to her own preferences, favoring structured blazers over cardigans, choosing deeper colors that complemented her auburn hair. She grew her hair longer than Rachel had ever worn hers, usually styling it in a loose braid that hung down her back. You've developed quite the professional wardrobe, Rachel noted, as Evelyn prepared for an in-person meeting with clients, smoothing down a charcoal pencil skirt and adjusting a burgundy silk blouse. The tech industry might let people code in hoodies, but they still expect the project managers to look put together. Evelyn replied, fastening pearl earrings. Especially female project managers. That particular challenge, navigating professional spaces as a woman after having experienced them as a man, had been eye-opening. The interruptions, the explanations required where none had been needed before, the subtle dismissals, all confirmed what Rachel had tried to explain to Bentley years ago. "Remember when you thought I was exaggerating about Gordon from marketing?" Evelyn said after one particularly frustrating video conference. Rachel laughed. "And now? Now I want to reach through the screen and strangle him with his own tie when he calls me sweetie and explains basic coding concepts I literally wrote the manual for." These shared experiences deepened their relationship. The physical attraction had evolved. Rachel sometimes admitted she missed certain aspects of Bentley's male body, while Evelyn occasionally felt strange desire echoes based on memories of her former self, but their emotional connection continued to strengthen. "Do you ever regret staying with me through all this?" Evelyn asked on their anniversary, 3 years after the change. They sat at their favorite restaurant, Evelyn wearing a deep emerald dress that contrasted beautifully with her auburn hair, now styled in elegant waves. Rachel looked surprised by the question. "Never, not once. But this isn't what you signed up for, dating Bentley and ending up with Evelyn." "I signed up for a lifetime with the person I love," Rachel said simply. "The packaging changed, but you didn't. Not in the ways that matter. You're still terrible at remembering birthdays, still obsessed with science fiction novels, still leave your coffee cups all over the apartment." Evelyn smiled, acknowledging the truth in this. "The packaging changed me more than you think, though. I understand things differently now, experience things differently." "That's called growth," Rachel pointed out. "Everyone changes over time. Yours was just more dramatic." On the 5th anniversary of the lightning strike, they hosted a small dinner party in their new house, a celebration of sorts, though few guests knew exactly what they were commemorating. "2 new beginnings," Rachel toasted, raising her glass. Evelyn, elegant in a navy blue cocktail dress that had become her signature color for special occasions, clinked her glass against Rachel's. "And unexpected journeys." Later that night, after their friends had departed, they sat on the back porch, watching distant lightning flicker on the horizon. "Any regrets?" Rachel asked, a question that had become something of a tradition on this anniversary. Evelyn considered, twisting a strand of auburn hair around her finger. "I used to list them, remember? All the things I missed about being Bentley. The list gets shorter every year." "What remains?" "I miss the simplicity sometimes. Being a woman is complicated. Socially, emotionally, practically. The constant awareness of safety, the extra effort in presentation." She paused. "But the regrets aren't about being Evelyn anymore. They're more about roads not taken, wondering what would have happened if we'd never gone out on the balcony that night." Rachel nodded. "That's normal, I think. Everyone wonders about the paths they didn't choose." "What about you? Do you ever wish you had your boyfriend back instead of this?" She gestured to herself. Rachel took Evelyn's hand, tracing the engagement ring they'd selected together the previous month. "I have everything I ever wanted," she said simply. "A partner who understands me, who grows with me. The physical form is secondary to that." In the years that followed, Evelyn's identity solidified. The memories of being Bentley remained, but they felt increasingly like stories about someone else, important to her development, but separate from her current self. Her career flourished as she built a reputation in tech project management. Her wardrobe evolved with her success, designer pieces mixed with comfortable favorites, always coordinated to complement her auburn hair that she now wore in a sophisticated shoulder-length cut. "The Richardson contract came through," she announced one evening, entering their home office where Rachel was working.
"They specifically requested me for the project lead."
Rachel looked up from her laptop, smiling at the sight of Evelyn in her power outfit, a perfectly tailored navy blue pantsuit with a cream silk shell.
"That's fantastic,
though not surprising. You've built quite the reputation. As Evelyn Bennett, not as someone who used to be someone else." She sat on the edge of the desk, a position that would have been impossible to manage gracefully in her early days as a woman.
"Sometimes I go entire weeks without thinking about before."
"Is that good or bad?" Rachel asked, saving her work and giving Evelyn her full attention. "Good, I think. It feels authentic, like I've fully integrated this life." Evelyn smoothed her skirt, a habitual gesture she'd developed over the years.
"The anniversary is next week. 7 years.
Any special plans this year?"
Actually, I thought maybe we skip the usual reflection. Just treat it like any other day."
Evelyn's expression was serene, decided.
"I don't think I need the annual inventory of feelings anymore."
Rachel studied her fiancé, noting the confidence in her posture, the comfort in her skin that had been hard-won over years of adjustment.
"You've come to peace with it all, haven't you?"
"I have." Evelyn smiled, reaching for Rachel's hand. "A bizarre cosmic accident gave me a different life than I planned, but it's a good life. A life I've chosen to embrace rather than just endure." Their wedding, later that year, was small but joyful. Evelyn wore a classic gown that highlighted her auburn hair, now elegantly styled in a low chignon. The photographs captured her radiating happiness, every bit the beautiful bride she had never expected to become. "Mrs. and Mrs. Taylor Bennett," the officiant announced to applause from their gathered loved ones. At the reception, Evelyn's father, who had eventually come to accept his daughter after years of adjustment, gave a toast that acknowledged the journey without revealing its supernatural origins. "Life gives us unexpected turns," he said, voice thick with emotion. "What matters is how we navigate them. Evelyn has shown remarkable grace in becoming the person standing before us today." In quiet moments during their honeymoon, Evelyn reflected on the extraordinary path that had led her here, from Bentley to Evelyn, from confusion to acceptance, from crisis to opportunity. "I've been thinking," she said one evening as they watched the sunset from their private villa balcony, her sundress fluttering in the gentle breeze. "About identity and transformation." Rachel looked up from her book. "What specifically?"
"There's this philosophical question about a ship whose planks are gradually replaced until none of the original wood remains. Is it still the same ship?"
Evelyn tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear.
"I've had the opposite experience. Every plank of my physical ship was replaced at once, but the crew remained."
"And your conclusion?"
"That I'm neither entirely Bentley nor entirely separate from him. I'm the evolutionary result of an extraordinary catalyst."
She smiled, serene in her understanding. "The lightning didn't erase who I was. It just accelerated who I was becoming." 10 years after the incident, Evelyn rarely thought about her life as Bentley anymore. The memories remained, valuable for their perspective, but they felt increasingly like chapters in a book she had read rather than lived. Her professional accomplishments had mounted. She now ran her own consulting firm, specializing in project management for women-led tech startups. Her wardrobe had evolved into a signature style that combined practicality with elegance.
streamlined silhouettes in rich colors that complemented her auburn hair, which she maintained in a sophisticated bob. Their home had expanded to accommodate their growing family, a daughter with Rachel's eyes and a curious mind.
"Mama, why is your hair so pretty?"
their daughter asked one morning as Evelyn brushed out her auburn waves.
"I got lucky,"
Evelyn replied with a smile, meeting Rachel's eyes in the mirror. Some questions had simpler answers than others. Later, as their daughter played in the yard, Rachel joined Evelyn on the porch swing.
10 years ago today,"
she said softly. Evelyn nodded, watching the clouds gather on the horizon. Another summer storm approaching. A decade of being Evelyn. Any regrets? The traditional question, asked now with the certainty of knowing the answer. None, Evelyn said, without hesitation. The journey wasn't what I expected, but the destination. She looked at their daughter, then back to her wife. The destination is exactly where I'm meant to be. The distant rumble of thunder brought their attention to the sky, where lightning began to flicker between the clouds. Should we go inside? Rachel asked, eyeing the approaching storm. Evelyn considered this, then shook her head, settling more comfortably into the swing. No, she said, with calm certainty. I'm not afraid of lightning anymore. She raised her face to the darkening sky, feeling the first drops of rain. Whatever changes the storm had brought all those years ago had shaped her into who she was meant to become, not just a woman wearing a borrowed life, but Evelyn Bennett Taylor in her own right, authentic in every way that mattered. Besides, she added with a smile, reaching for Rachel's hand as thunder rolled closer, lightning never strikes the same place twice. As the storm enveloped their home, Evelyn remained serene, secure in the knowledge that her transformation, while extraordinary in its catalyst, had become ordinary in its completion. The woman in the navy blue dress with auburn hair falling around her shoulders was no longer an accident of cosmic forces, but the result of a decade of choices, growth, and acceptance. Lightning illuminated the sky above them, brilliant and beautiful rather than frightening. Evelyn watched it with appreciation instead of apprehension, understanding that sometimes the most devastating disruptions can lead to the most authentic lives. The rain fell harder, but they remained on the porch, sheltered and together, watching nature's display with the calm certainty of people who had weathered far stranger storms and emerged stronger for the experience.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!